My name is Joel, and I live with bipolar disorder. Medication is a controversial issue with some people. Do I take it? Do I avoid it? I know in my own case, I stayed away from it until I was 36 years old. I had psychoses, I had deep depressions, and manias that drove my wife crazy. But I feared becoming a drone. I feared being in the control of my psychiatrist and not being able to decide for myself, not being able to think for myself. When I was 36, however, I woke up one morning in a deep depression, turned to my wife and said, "Lynn, I'm sick. I'm going to call a psychiatrist and see about getting on this new wonder drug called Prozac." So I had her call Kaiser in Redwood City. And then I called Kaiser in Redwood City because they wouldn't let her make an appointment for her. And a couple of weeks later, I went in to see a nurse and she screened me for depression. After she was satisfied that I showed enough of the symptoms, she turned me over to a psychiatrist who put me on Prozac. When I was first diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I went through a series of mood stabilizers. The first was Depakote, or Depakote as it's called. I remember my psychiatrist called me about a week after I went on it and asked me how I was doing. I laughed and told her, "Great, as long as I get 18 hours sleep a day." She took me off it and moved me to Lamictal. Lamictal works by stabilizing the depression end of the bipolar spectrum. You have to titrate onto it very carefully. You start with a very small dose, then double it again, and keep doubling it until you reach the dose that you're going to live on for the rest of your life. This is because Lamictal can cause a condition called the Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And what that is the skin rash from hell. You don't just get hives. Your skin comes off. All of your skin. So it can be fatal. For this reason, they are very careful about Lamictal. The next medication I was put on was lithium. People say all kinds of bad things about lithium, like it erases your personality, and that it's a heavy metal and does damage to your nervous system. I did some research when it was suggested to me. I wasn't sure. I'd heard these things. But I found out a few things about lithium that eased my mind. It wasn't there to erase my personality, but to stabilize my moods. And as for the accusation that it was a heavy metal, there's a thing called a periodic chart of the elements. That chart arranges the elements from the lightest to the heaviest. And it goes like this. The first element on the chart is hydrogen, a light gas. Then comes another gas, helium. And third on the chart is lithium. When you first go on the mood stabilizer, You still get the ups and downs, the rapid cycling. You still rage a bit. In fact, for a while it feels worse. But gradually you feel yourself stabilize. And by stabilize, I don't mean flatlining, where you're a robot and you talk like this in a flat affect. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. The aim is to get you having a normal range of ups and downs. Some days you get to feel happy, some days you get to feel sad, but you don't get manic and you don't get depressed. Lithium was a good drug for me. The main side effect I experienced with it was essential tremors. My hand used to shake like this when I first took it in the morning. All my friends noticed it. But as the day went on, it went away. The second thing that affected me was lithium did a number on my kidneys. Or maybe it was the diabetes that was out of control at the time that did the number on my kidneys. In any case, I had to go off of it and search for a new mood stabilizer. Going off lithium meant that I had to undergo a 3-month period of hell. It was called a med change. We all fear med changes. The drugs you go on may not work. They may cause you disastrous side effects. You don't know what is going to help you in the end. It's almost as bad as the beginning. Well, actually, I'd say it was worse. The first drug that my psychiatrist tried me on was risperidone. Now, risperidone is a good medication for me. I still take it, but in a smaller dose. It's one of the atypical antipsychotics. Now, you have two types of antipsychotics. First, on one hand, are the typical antipsychotics. And on the other, you have the atypical antipsychotics. The typical antipsychotics all resemble each other. The atypical antipsychotics aren't anything like the typical antipsychotics, and they aren't like each other. One problem they have is that they tend to cause carb cravings and blood sugar increases. This is why I had to go off high doses of risperidone. My endocrinologist looked at my blood sugar test and she went through the roof. So I had to go back to my psychiatrist and find something else. So we tried another atypical antipsychotic that wasn't known for blood sugar cravings. The name of it was Geodon. I call it the Geobomb. It was horrible. I would get up in the morning after I had taken it the night before, and I'd be dizzy. And I would stay dizzy until about 7 or 8 in the evening. Then I had about 4 or 5 hours of normal mind before I had to take it again. I'd pass out, wake up in the morning, and I'd be dizzy again. It was hard to drive, it was hard to read, it was hard to use a computer. So one day, I decided I've had enough of this shit. And I stopped taking it. It was one of the worst mistakes of my life. Yeah, boom, 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 boom. I crashed like I had never crashed in my life. For 3 weeks, I just laid in my bed. My cats stayed with me the entire time. I don't know how they do it, but can't seem to know when you're at your worst. I only got up to eat, to go to the bathroom, and to change a CD. I was playing the Bach's Brandenburg concertos over and over again. Now, during this time, my psychiatrist put me back on risperidone because I was having suicidal ideation. I imagined that knives were coming at me, and I couldn't sleep. They just kept coming at me just like this. It was almost a hallucination. The risperidone got rid of that. Eventually, I pulled out of it, but it took me about a year before I felt normal again. When I started taking the risperidone, I noticed something else. Now, for a long time, I had what I thought were optical illusions. I'd be driving down a dark road at night, and it would seem that things were jumping into the middle of the road and disappearing as soon as they got out of my peripheral vision. This was weird, but I thought everyone had this kind of thing. A few weeks after I got on risperidone, they vanished, and I never had them again. I'm on a couple of other medications. I'm on Xanax to help me sleep at night and to deal with anxiety. And I'm on doxepin, which is another antidepressant. I'm also still on FX-Urt, but at a very low dose. Doxepin's there to help me sleep. Is there anything else? Yeah, earlier this year, or late last year, I was talking to somebody about ADD, and it seemed to me that I had a lot of the symptoms. So I went in to my psychologist and had her screen me. She had me fill out a couple of questionnaires. She gave me one that I took home to my wife and had her fill it out. And when I brought them back, she scored them. And sure enough, I had enough symptoms to qualify. So I took the charts to my psychiatrist, and she put me on a medication called Vyvanse, which is a time-release psychostimulant that helps me concentrate. I take it first thing in the morning, and during the day it lets out little doses. I don't get the rush that you get on taking a dose of Ritalin or Adderall, and I only need to take it once a day. I've noticed my focus has been better. I'm able to concentrate when I read. I'm able to get projects done. So I'm very grateful for that one. And that's all the medications I'm on. Have the medications erased my personality? I don't think so. I am now free to be the person I always knew I was, except I don't have the mood disorders running interference. Someone once said that mania is like being in the back seat of a car driven by a madman. Now, I've had my road rages, and maybe I'll tell you about them sometime. But I'd be there, and part of me would be going, "Get him! Get that bastard! Gotta get him! Ah!" And another part would be, "Oh my God, what am I doing? Oh my God." Then there were the mixed states. Mixed states are like grand opera of suicidal ideation. You have the energy of a mania with the thinking of a depression. Now, depressed people aren't at risk for suicide, at least not as much as people with bipolar disorder. 1 in 10 people with depression attempts suicide at some time in his life. It's 1 in 4 people who have bipolar disorder. Lamictal made my manias happier, and eventually, coupled with the risperidone, eliminated the mixed states and the suicidal ideation entirely. The depressions. Oh, we all hate the depressions. You fall into a pit, and at the bottom of the pit is this beast. And the beast latches its jaws onto you and just chews and chews and chews at your self esteem. You feel fatigue. It drains your blood from you. It's a vampire and a scavenger and a parasite all at once. The antidepressants help me a little bit with that. But what really helps is the lamictal because it keeps me from ever going there. The worst thing about not taking the meds is not being myself. I hate the loss of self-esteem. I hate the anger and the rages. I hate the rapid thoughts. I hate all of the craziness, the religiosity, the grandiosity, the paranoia. They're all gone now, and I'm in a place of stability. Now, the meds did not solve everything. I still had bad habits that I had to undo. Things that I had learned from my parents, my brother, my peers in the world, my teachers sometimes, that just did not help me. But the meds put down the floor so I could work on these things. The most essential things about me have not changed. I haven't changed my political party, my religion, my taste in books, or my taste in movies. I am now who I have always been. I am in control. The beast has been tamed.